Welcome to Ron and Nick's Best Friend Podcast, the podcast yet what?
You can't live without.
Good morning. We are playing Tina Turner this morning, because I know we talked about Tina Turner's passing last week, but I just wanted to talk about a little bit of stories about Tina Turner.
Yeah, can I say this?
Yeah.
Can I, before you get started? Monday, ladies and gentlemen, Monday, I'm over at Nick's house.
I'm going to play this in the background. While we're doing it.
Okay. I'm over at Nick's house for Memorial Day, helping him fix his grill, which...
Okay, whatever. That's another story.
This is another story. And I hear him talking to his brother, and they're talking about how their band opened for Tina Turner. Now,
the friends call her T.
Your friends call her T. That's right.
All right.
So I just want to say, if you go back to the first episode of Ron and Nick's Best Friend Podcast, the podcast you can't live without, you'll hear a story about Ric Flair. And I just want to tell you, I've heard that story. If I've heard it once, I've heard it 500 times. Ric Flair, Ric Flair, Ric Flair. So on Monday, I'm hearing them say, oh, yeah, we opened for Tina Turner. I actually didn't even take it in. I'm like, I don't even know if I believe this. But this is true.
This is true. I opened up for her. All right, so let me tell you my story. We are in Akron, Ohio, at the Tangiers, a huge club. We happened to open for Tina.
I was actually kind of grooving on that.
I know, she's great. Anyway, so I opened for Tina Turner. Got to see her. I never really hung out with her. I was respectful. But here's the point, and we're going to get to the story real quick. So she's passed away. I like looking at documentaries. I saw a documentary about her, and at I think 1978, she divorces Ike Turner. She's been beaten for 3 days in a row at a hotel. She takes her toiletries. Okay, that's kind of funny, right? A big star taking her toiletries. Like you picture this little bag. She sneaks out of the room. She runs across interstate, and there's a Ramada Inn over there. She goes to the Ramada Inn. There's the innkeeper there. She has zero money. He recognizes her, gives her a room for the night. And that's the story about Tina Turner. She actually leaves Ike Turner not a penny to her name. She ends up being a cleaning lady. I'm not sure what she's cleaning to pay rent. And I come across her in 1981. I just 6 months before that almost got in a fight with Ric Flair. Episode 1, you got to hear that one. And I'm seeing her. I'm respectful for her and all that. And so I watched the documentary, and her whole deal was. She was telling her life story and all that. And then they come to the point where they kind of say, let's talk about Ike, okay, and the relationship. And she can't. Now, she's 80, 81 years old. She can't talk about it. She says she's still getting emotional. And then one of the lines is, have you forgiven her? And he goes, well, I have forgiven him. I'm sorry. And she goes, I'm at an age where I'm getting old, and I just need to forgive him. And it just really struck me that the damage that this man has done to her. By the way, she's a Buddhist or something like that. I don't know if you even know this. She's a citizen of Switzerland. She wasn't even living here. So, my little tribute to Tina Turner. I want to tell you my story about her, and maybe talk about her bitterness or not being able to talk about her husband still after these many years. Still had an effect on her. I mean, she's an icon. I mean, she made it. And still, she's going back and can't talk about Ike, or she gets very emotional.
Did she do "Rolling on the River"?
She did it with Ike, and then she redid it after.
No, when Savannah opened.
Yes. She did "Rolling on the River."
So you stood there and watched her do this live.
Yes. And listen, I didn't know back then she was 45 years old. Okay, when I saw her, 45, 46 years old. And she was just starting off trying to make a buck, in the music business again. That how you can look at someone, first of all, you can see people are people when you meet someone famous. I don't know if you've ever met anyone famous, but you look at him, you go, wait a second, that's just like a human being. That's a person. But when she got on stage, you did see there was something special about her with her energy and her dancing and what she gave out on stage.
Yeah, she was something to watch.
Yeah.
That's there's a difference between some people who are I guess there's people who are live people that perform live versus like the recording. I think today who actually is
or performers. Would you rather use that?
Yeah, they always performers. They always said like a Garth Brooks. Like
Yeah.
if you couldn't get Garth Brooks in the phenomenon by just listening to him. You had to like see what happened when the guy was on stage. And there's a certain, I think what we would call it is like charisma, right?
Yeah, sure.
There's something about
Yes.
somebody that when you think about how do you hold the attention of thousands of people,
It's a gift.
yeah. I mean, you can have a great voice. There's a lot of people who have great voices. But the combination of the ability to connect, that's it, to connect with people on a large scale like that is pretty fascinating.
I got to give her credit in some respect when I'm going back to the Ike thing, and when she said that she can't talk about it. She was honest about it.
Mm.
You know, they didn't do the cut and cut the reel and do that. She goes, listen, I'm still very emotional about this. I don't like talking about it. And for an instant, I thought about things in my life. Are there things that I don't want to talk about? Things that are really bad. Okay. Don't need to name them because I think I can talk about them all. I don't know why I have the freedom. I mean, some things are raw, but I still have the freedom to talk about them. I don't know why I feel free to do that. And I'm not saying I'm anything special. I think maybe my brother gets emotional if he talks about my dad's passing. I mean, it affects him in certain ways. I'm guessing, but it would affect him more than me. And I don't know what that means. I just
Huh.
Is that the show?
Well, I wanted to talk about forgiveness today.
Well, that has to do with her too.
Yeah, and that question, I think it kind of there's part of that answer that is the way most people think about forgiveness. That's they don't really know what forgiveness is. They don't have an idea about what forgiveness is. Like what I got out of her answer, and I don't know if you would agree with me, is, hey, I'm old. You know, I've got to forget it. And that right there is the main disconnect with people and the concept of forgiveness. They think it's forgetting. What's the old saying?
Forgive and forget.
Forgive and forget, right?
I mean, that is a saying, isn't it?
Yeah, they're made into, they're synonymous. Eh? Forgiving is forgetting. Forgetting is, no, it's not.
It's not.
No, they actually don't have anything to do with each other. I don't want you to forget. I don't think it would have been a good idea for Tina Turner to run across the street to the Ramada Inn and get away from a guy who punched her in the face for 3 days and then forgive him and then, which is a whole nother issue, is it even possible, and then run back across the street again and get punched in the face for 3 more days. I mean, is that a good idea?
No. So you learn.
Not a good idea. Well, forgetting. How were you supposed to forget that? How are you supposed to forget it? If I tell you the thing to forgive is to forget, well, you have to look at the thing.
Ooh.
Okay, to forgive, but to forgive is to forget. How do you stop looking at the thing so that you can forgive? So it's a very confusing thing. Like
Yes.
I don't understand it anymore like that. I mean, I remember there's things that, well, I think we should probably talk about. Forgiveness is a huge issue. We can't probably cover it in one podcast. I think there's the issue of forgiving others. There's self-forgiveness. There's even the issue of can you forgive God, which is a very deep subject that you go, well, God doesn't need forgiveness. Right. I understand that. But again, that's a whole nother episode. We can talk about that some other time. But let's talk about Tina Turner. How's she supposed to forget that somebody punched her in the face? She's not going to forget it. You have to look at it because it actually happened. It's actually not safe to stop looking at it. But could she be free of that event? You know, could she have freedom? Like, have you ever done? Has somebody ever done something to you that you feel like you forgave them? Like you would go, no, I've forgiven them.
Yes. There's a particular one. we could talk about past marriages, but there's a particular person that worked for me that he was like a brother and took more money than I don't even want to even say it because people will think anyway. He took well over $35,000. Wow, and I trusted him and I believed him, and it did take me a while, but I did forgive him. And you're going to ask me how I forgave him, right?
Yeah. Tell me how you forgave him.
Okay. I forgot about it.
Wow. Your pocket is $35,000 light, and you forgot about that?
No.
You're blowing the whole show.
No, I didn't forget about it. You know, I actually got madder as my wife found out about it, and I was telling her about it, and I saw her anger in it, and then I realized the effect that it was actually not only having on me, but in our family and the financial issues that she put us into, which made me even angrier. Like, oh crap, this is not just affecting me.
Okay, how did you forgive him?
As the way I forgave him, and I don't want to sound super spiritual here, but the simple thing is I look at God and how He's forgiven me, how Jesus has forgiven me on things that I do, sometimes on a regular basis, and I know that He's forgiven me. And I go, listen, man, if you're going to do that for me, I'm going to have to learn to do that with the people that take offense on me. And believe it or not, that actually gets me through it.
Oh, I believe it.
You do?
Yeah. Well, okay. So if forgiving isn't forgetting, it's got to be something else. So what is it? That's the question. What is forgiveness? It's not forgetting.
Okay.
It's also not a feeling. If I said, how do you feel towards that person? Do you feel forgiving toward that person? Is that what it is? Like I have a forgiveness feeling. What does forgiveness feel like? Could you define it?
I've heard people say I have no animosity towards them.
Okay,
whatever that means.
So what you're saying is it isn't a feeling, it's a lack of a feeling.
Okay.
It's like you know what? It's the emotional equivalent of the mental forgetting. Okay, so mentally you say you have to forget in order to forgive. Emotionally, you have to be blank in order to forgive. Okay, so either one of those things to me sounds pretty hard, if not impossible. I have to wipe my hard drive so that I have no memory of the thing, and or I have to wipe my emotional hard drive so that there is no emotion attached to it. Go ahead and try that. Go ahead and see how that works out for you. I don't think it's healthy, because it's not true. Okay, Jesus says the truth will set you free. So the truth is something offensive happened, something bad happened, and you do have feelings about it. It's not good for you to stuff those feelings, to try to forget about them, to say you don't feel the way. And that's how some people try to forgive. They go, oh, I don't feel animosity. Well, I tell you what, if you scratch that just a little bit, you find out that really they do have a lot of feels about it. And you'll find them. If you scratch and sniff like that, that all the truth will come out, that there's not forgiveness there.
All right, look, there's a lot of pain out there, okay? In our lives, people's lives, people have done bad things to people, okay? Bad. All right, say it, okay? I come to you and I say, I just cannot forgive blank for what they did to me. I am so angry. I'm so bitter. I can't even think about them. I don't even want to talk about them. I wake up every day thinking about this thing. They ruined my life. I never would have been here. Blank. Go ahead.
Right.
Do you have any medicine?
Do I have any medicine?
Yeah. Do you have any medicine for this?
Well,
what would you say to me?
Well, what I would say to you is you already got the main thing that you have to understand about forgiveness starts with where you started. You have to start with God. You have to start with God. You people who don't have any view of God don't have any authentic view of offense. They don't, like how do you decide you're offended? Well, because it offends me. Well, why does it offend you? Is it because Is it because of evolution? You evolved into, offense and being offended? Hey, if evolution is the only truth out there, then it's whoever's bigger, faster, stronger, smarter wins, and you shut up and go home. That's the way it works. And I don't care what you tell me about all of the ways that culture has evolved. There's still people out there who are bigger, faster, stronger, smarter, and they prey on people, and none of us believes that that's evolution. None of us believes that that's a way to live that's healthy. It isn't. So you have to start with God, because if there is a God, there is actual offense, because there are actually things that we can agree upon that come from outside of us, that come from outside the world, and to say, okay, there actually is a need for forgiveness because there is actual offense. And then where does that come from? That comes from a God who says, hey, this is how things work. It works this way. You don't lie, you don't cheat, you don't steal, you don't sleep around, you don't do these things because they're not good for you. Now you go, okay, I have an actual offense. So you started with that. You start with God. And then what I believe happens is that the Holy Spirit says, hey, let's take a little trip. Let's you and me take a little trip. And where we're going to go? We're going to go to the cross. You and me are going to go to the cross.
So you're not doing it yourself?
No. Listen, the people out there who are quote-unquote forgiving people on their own have to maintain that forgiveness on their own. So they have to maintain their heart clear. They have to maintain their memory blank. They have to. It's an effort. There's so much effort. There's no freedom in that. So when the Holy Spirit says, "Come on, let's go. We'll forgive," I'm going to show you. I'm going to take you to the cross. And
I'm in pain.
Well, he's going to take you to the cross. He's going to carry you to the cross. All you got to do is say yes.
What?
All you got to do is say yes. He says, "Okay, come on, let's go." And you say, "Okay, I'll go with you." That's all it is. I'll go with you to the cross. And when you get to the cross, and this is just the beginning of the thing, man. This is just the beginning of it.
Beginning of what?
Of forgiveness. As he takes you by the hand and you approach the cross, what happens is your offense shrinks. It's a glide slope towards the cross. And as you get closer to the cross, meaning closer to understanding what Jesus is doing on the cross, your offense gets smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. Look, it's still there. You can still see it. But if you get close enough to the cross, it becomes very manageable. You go, okay, there I see me, and I see Jesus, and I see the offender, and I see the offense. Now, that's perspective. Okay, this is just the beginning of the understanding of what forgiveness is. Because without the cross, forgiveness doesn't make sense at all. Listen to what I'm saying. Without the cross, I don't mean without God, without the Holy Spirit, without Jesus Christ and all of his teachings. I mean literally without the cross.
The crucifixion.
The death, the sacrificial death of Jesus Christ on the cross is the only way that forgiveness even starts to make sense. You have to get close enough to it and see what's actually going on. Okay, once you get there, and you can start having a conversation about forgiveness. Now, I heard what you said, and I believe you've forgiven, okay? I believe you have forgiven the person that stole the money from you. But I'm not sure whether or not you feel you've come into the fullness of what actually is going on. Because once you get there, it isn't just like, well, I mean, he's done bad things to me, but, I've done really bad things. That's
not it.
No, it really isn't.
No.
Because I'll tell you something, and maybe this is a cliffhanger teaser, and we'll come back and do another episode about forgiveness. I think we probably do, because there's a lot in here, is this. Forgiveness doesn't have anything to do with that dude. It doesn't have anything to do with you looking at him. It has everything to do with you looking at his specific offense, and you looking at the cross, and you looking at what Jesus did, and you deciding this. Hey, God, I'm going to give that to you. That guy might not ever give it to you. The perspective on what he's done and the impact that it's had, that's a whole nother thing. But what you're doing is you're taking this dude's rap sheet, and you go into God's courtroom, and you say, hey, can I leave this in here? Because I've been carrying this thing around with me. I've got a file folder full of them. I've got a file cabinet full of people's rap sheets.
Yeah.
And I can pull it out anytime, and I can pull out your file, and I can start going through it. And I go, you did this, you did this, you did this, you did this. Boy, a lot of marriages end up this way. A lot of business partnerships end this way. Okay? But I could go into that file folder in my head that exists.
Right.
I can pull out that file folder, and I can take it to God in his courtroom, and I can say, can I leave this here? Could I just give this to you? And I don't want it anymore. Could I just leave this with you? And God the Father says, yeah, I'll take it. I'll take that. Now, there's a lot in here that we need to discuss, but I want to land it here for today.
Okay.
Forgiveness isn't any more complicated than that. It's a choice. You choose to take the guy you take his rap sheet, $35,000, okay, that he stole from you. It's on his rap sheet. Other things that are in there, that lies and blah, blah, blah.
Of course.
And you go, Father God, the judge of all the earth, will you take this? And he says, yes. Your choice is to give it to him. His choice is to take it. He will always say yes, and I'll prove that to you next time we talk about this with Jesus, because that's why you need the cross. Can't do it without the cross.